Whenever I see the Visconti Fool, I think of Enkaidu because of the feathers in his hair. He's just really giving Enkaidu energy. But I don't think Enkaidu would appreciate the Visconti Tarot. It's a little bit too bougie for him. So, hey there, this is Ina from Taproot Tarot. And today I'm going to do a response to Kathy from Nothing So Strange. Her new tag is Maslow Tarot Redux, and it's based on the Ladder Tarot tag from years ago, the Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, which we know has its problems. And so she's come up with this really hilarious alternative, or she found it, I should say. And at the base we have food and shelter, as we would expect, and then safety, and then we've got a bee that is your friend. That's for sure a need. And the respect of the Forest King, and then a lava lamp in every room of the house. And so we are going to come up with some decks that match each of those needs on this hierarchy. So my first one is the Mother Piece Tarot for food and shelter. The Mother Piece was my first deck, the mini was my first tarot deck ever in 2019. And this is a vintage copy of the full size. And this is a deck that just represents equity, ideally anyway, and it idealizes a world where our needs are met in an equitable way. And so that just seemed like a nice option for food and shelter. Nice strength card. And the devil in this card is the one that does represent a world without equity and with oppression, where everybody's needs aren't being met. Our next one is safety, and for that I've got Tarot of the Cosmic Seed by Lelania Simone, and I've got a first edition. I didn't kickstart it, it was Indiegogo, I think. And I love every deck that she does. You know by now that I don't generally get RWS decks, but this is an exception because Lelania Simone is legitimately magical. I love following her account on Instagram. She's at Tarot of the Cosmic Seed, I believe. And she's just an amazing person. I've got this as well as her Oracle deck, and her next one, the Wise Earth Medicine Tarot, comes out on May 5th. I've got that one pre-ordered. And I helped kickstart her Mythweaver Tarot, which looks amazing. I'm so excited for it. So she is definitely someone that I'm just a fan of her work and the magic that she puts into the world. And this deck just feels like a warm hug to me. Definitely radiates safety. This Chariot card was probably the number one reason I saw that, or I got this deck. I saw this image on Instagram, and I was like, okay, I need this deck. Look at this strength card. It's just a beautiful, gorgeous deck. I will be showing you a few decks today that I'm not currently using, so they are conveniently in order. Even the Devil card, the key is right there. All you have to do is unlock it to get out of the cage. I love that. And look at this world. Absolutely love this world card. And the courts. The court cards are so nice. We've got Messenger, Action, Nurturer, and Mastery. Love it so much. Our next need on this hierarchy is a bee that is your friend. So I was thinking, what is a deck that might attract some pollinators? And that's pretty huge for me. I'm a big native plant proponent. I have taken out my entire front yard to plant a Midwestern native plant prairie, and that's been going strong for about 6 years now. And I've got various other native plant gardens around my house, including a water garden in the back that's all native plants. And fortunately, my neighbors are cool, and a lot of them are also into native plants, so nobody gets mad at the gigantic prairie plants I've got in my front yard. So I love pollinators, and I thought that the glass taro, or the crystal taro as it's translated, I like to call it the glass taro. I think it was called the crystal taro. Maybe it was translated as Kristall in German, and they thought, well, that might appeal to the English speakers, crystal. Crystals were huge when this deck came out, I guess, and they still are. But glass tarot just sounds better to me. It was painted on glass, and it is a pip deck, but it's an y2k system pip deck. You know, I love interesting systems. But look at all of the plant life and the blooms and foliage and the colors. I think these colors would appeal to a bee. Pretty flowers there. Look at this. It's so pretty. Even the poles of the hanged one have flowers growing up it. And cups in the y2k system are air. So they've got lots of butterflies and blooms being depicted. There's a butterfly there. Look at all the pretty flowers. Gorgeous. Knave of Chalices. I think a bee would love this card. It's already got a butterfly. So beautiful. And then coins are earth. You can see we've got some ground-dwelling critters in some of these cards, little bugs that might live under the earth, which are an indication of healthy soil, which is important for ecosystem strength to support our pollinators. Wands are fire. Still some nice colors, some trees and flowers pictured. And swords are water in y2k system. We still have a few blooms here and there, but obviously healthy waterways are important for our pollinators as well. So that is the crystal tarot, or the glass tarot, which will have a new edition coming out in October. I'm pretty excited about that. So I'll probably talk about the y2k system in a video and show you a few of my y2k decks before that new edition comes out. So our next is the Respect of the Forest King. Okay, so you would think when I thought Forest King that I would have gone straight to Pan. But that was my third thought. My first thought was Enkidu from the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is Mesopotamian, I'm pretty sure. Enkidu was the wild man who was a friend and advisor to Gilgamesh, who I think is a prince in the epic. So I always think of the Visconti Fool, or I should say, whenever I see the Visconti Fool, I think of Enkidu because of the feathers in his hair. He's just really giving Enkidu energy. But I don't think Enkidu would appreciate the Visconti Tarot. It's a little bit too bougie for him. So the second one I thought of when I think Forest King is Shiva. And Shiva, the Hindu deity, takes many forms, of course, and when I think sometimes he is referred to as the Forest King in his form as a yoga teacher, where he's meditating in the forest and being at peace with all the animal life. So I would never presume to earn the respect of Shiva, but I can show you this deck, this Fagatam Tarot, which I treated myself to for my birthday. And it's by Pankuri Agarwal, and she is on Instagram. If you search Swagatam Tarot, you should be able to find her. And this is a really cool deck. It's not necessarily a deck just about yoga philosophy, although that's included, but also about Ayurveda and about Hindu culture, as well as various aspects of Indian culture, and it's just a really cool deck. My birthday was in January, and so I haven't had it too long, and I've been focused on my usual decks, so I haven't used this yet, but I've gone through it a lot, and even just using it as a learning deck, going through the guidebook, it's really helpful. It has a fifth suit too, so it's got 92 cards, and it has a fifth suit of smoke to represent the fifth element of ether. Now there is a misprinted version out there, and it's still being sold. So if you do get this, make sure you check and make sure that it has an emperor and an empress, rather than two emperors. Or maybe it's two empresses, and they're mislabeled. So I did send this back to get a good copy. The chariot is Brahmacharya. The Wheel of Fortune is Bhagya. She has videos on how she developed this deck, and it's really cool. The devil is tamas, which she has labeled as ignorance. It can also be stagnation, which makes sense. That's the way we interpret the devil. The moon is bhakti, devotion. It's beautiful. Shiva Shakti for the sun. Moksha for judgment. That's cool. And then each of the aces is a mudra. So we've got Prithvi mudra here. And then here's an example of one that is more cultural rather than philosophical. Got anklets. And I'll show you maybe a couple from the fifth element of ether or smoke. These ones are all really pretty. There's some significance to the plants, like this is neem, which is an Ayurvedic herb. There's information about all these in the guidebook. Very cool deck. It was a nice treat for me to give myself for Christmas. The last one is a lava lamp in every room. And you know how much I love my 60s and 70s decks, vintage decks, and this was a difficult decision for me. I first thought maybe the Tarot Classic, which is based on the Schaff House, but with a more 70s vibe to it. It's a Stuart Kaplan remake. Very much 70s outfits on these folks. And then I thought maybe the Neutzeit Tarot by Valsa Vegmula. This tarot is trippy, and this is another vintage deck that I have. And Valsa Vegmula deserves his own video, so I'll definitely be doing one. He was a Swiss Romani tarot expert and visionary artist. I've got a couple of his decks, and I would love to talk for a video, or talk about him for a video. So I'll do that for sure. So you'll get to see that deck if you haven't already. So for a lava lamp in every room, I decided on another deck, another vintage deck, the Tarot Balbi. And the only copy I have of it is brittle and is not usable, so I can't shuffle it. This is a Fournier deck, and this is so cool. This is such an awesome deck. Look at this. Does this not say lava lamp in every room? This is, I think, one of the most beautiful decks ever, and I don't understand why it's not still in print. I do hope one day to get a usable deck that's not so brittle that I wouldn't want to shuffle it. If I were to shuffle this copy, it would crack. Domenico Balbi was an esotericist. He and his daughter wrote a book about his tarot, but it's in Spanish. If anyone has leads on that book in English, let me know. You might remember this devil from El Gran Tarot Esoterica. It is based on Marichu Gula's design. In her deck, it's called Aker, which is a Basque term. And I'll talk more about that in an Uda Picard video, because this is an Uda Picard pip system. Look at that. Trippy green crustacean and purple canines. Oh, this is so cool. I'm starting to lose my light here. So I will just finish up, but you can see it's not as strictly based on Uda Picard's system. It's a little more loosely based, but you can see the butterflies for the cups and the wheat, which in Uda Picard's book, I think he often refers to as corn, which at that time in Europe just meant grain. And by default in Europe, that was wheat. So in some decks you'll see, I think in the Crystal Tarot, in fact, you'll see both corn and wheat. Corn as in maize, as well as what we now think of as wheat. So I'll show you a few more of these outfits here. That heart on the King of Cups. It looks like a shirt I would have worn as a little kid in the late 70s, early 80s. Look at this King of Batons. That is the most... That guy definitely has a lava lamp in every room of his house, for sure. This horse and knight look like they belong in a shampoo commercial. Very chill 70s seating for this king. We've got swords as water again. That is Tarot Balbi, which I think definitely says lava lamp in every room of the house. Well, I sure appreciate you watching. I appreciate Kathy for coming up with this hilarious tag. I think it's so funny. And I thought it was funny that I could instantly come up with decks to match every single one of these needs in this hierarchy. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.